really grateful for the wonderful support from the community. I mean, something like this, you can't just do it by yourself, and you have to have the folks who actually like it and who are willing to support your work. And it's just such a wonderful community of people, just indie game communities in general, because there's so much support and just authenticity in it.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's nice to have people that I'm sure play your things and then tell you exactly how they feel so you can fix it.
Yeah, that's true. Something that helped so much was like when I was like throughout the few years of making free games and whatnot, there were some folks who kindly stayed on at the Freebird Games forum community. So with To the Moon, actually, it was beta tested by the folks the veterans of the forum community, and they helped so much in just shaping the last bit of the game to be what it is. And I actually drew a lot of ideas from them as well, and they were all credited at the end of the game.
Oh, that's kind of you. So let's talk about. I think To the Moon was your fourth game. Is that correct?
Yeah, To the Moon is my fourth game. Yes, I do believe so. There was a missing, there was a game called Lyra's Melody, which I kind of started a while back with a demo, but that didn't take off. So the demo's still somewhere on the forum, I think, but it's not on the actual website.
Okay. Now, talking about all of those games kind of in general before we get specifically to the Moon, the art style, I guess maybe I am talking about To the Moon, but kind of seeing it develop from early stuff. And the games themselves remind me a lot of like the games you're talking about that you played as a child. Like I could see Zelda, in there somewhere. And in your music, there are times, just the timing of when a song will queue up feels very Final Fantasy to me. A lot. Like I see sort of inspirations in that. Do you find, older games kind of led you to where you are, and what do you think those older games would be?
Definitely. There was definitely a lot of influence in that. While I didn't, precisely dream of becoming a game developer when I was a kid, I did, I was quite a gamer. But again, like the games I was playing were, mostly, games which never actually quite made it here. So there were a lot of, Asian RPGs and Chinese RPGs and the like. And I actually, people are going to smite me for this, but I've actually never played a Final Fantasy game.
That's probably good, because now no one can say you're copying.
Well, I don't know, but I think there's like a lot of, positive influence and inspiration to be drawn from those. I mean, they are classics.
Definitely true. That surprises me.
And oh, dude, I just watched Star Wars for the first time a few months ago, too.
Do not make me.
I'm on a roll here.
See, all of your dialogue has so many references of like pop culture and geekery. That's really surprising just now.
Yeah, well, I mean, I don't think I've ever actually made like a Star Wars reference though.
No, that's.
I mean, there were stuff like Dragon Ball Z I've obviously watched, Doctor Who I watched, and Animorphs again. Well, that. I actually watched that just to see like what the fuss is about. And to be honest, I just felt so indifferent to it for some reason. I didn't love it. I didn't hate it. It was just there. It was kind of a weird experience.
Well, I suppose unless you're a 14-year-old girl, it may not have quite the appeal. But I did think the book reference was very funny, if that's what we were going for. Okay, so friends on these projects, and have you kept like similar people? You were talking about beta testers from the forums and such. Would you have people that you met, in college or sometime at that, who are helping you to do these games now, or does it turn around like fairly often? It's a lot of questions. Do you have does a friend stay on a project like the entire way through all 4 games, or do you have people come in and out, kind of?
Well, let's see. I do have some very loyal folks who's helped again and again, and usually I trade my music and the like with them as well. For example, the one who is making the sprites for the characters of this next game is actually the spriter who made the lighthouse in To the Moon. And then there are also folks who sometimes they drop by and help out, and other times but yeah, overall, I think it's relatively consistent. It's a fairly small community of folks.
Nice. Now let's get to the moon, because I think it's probably the best well-known of your games, and one I think people should play definitely before the next one comes out, and we'll talk about the tie-ins or lack thereof later on between the two games. But to the moon, the thing that struck me about it first, other than the fact that I thought the art style was really beautiful and extremely detailed. I mean, you have like little teacups and things that take forever to do all the furniture in the houses. Um, well, let's stop there. Tell me about the art style and how you decided that that's the look you wanted to go with your writing and music.
Well, the art style was actually it was two sides actually. For one, the templates for the game engine itself is kind of a six bit era kind of art style, which is kind of Chrono Trigger like, which is awesome in and of itself. But yeah, I definitely have like for some reason I personally like the kind of pixel art style in itself because it's almost like a cross between it's a difference between reading a book and watching a movie. When you read a book, there's not so much of a detail. Like you can't. It's not like not every detail is fed to you, so you kind of picture a lot of it is yourself. Which is why often when books get turned into movies, everyone kind of feels weird because the person doesn't actually look like exactly how they pictured them to be.
Yes.
And yeah, so I think there's definitely some kind of magic in that. You see a little pixel sprite, and you pretty much see who you want to see in that sprite, which to me is just kind of interesting.
Mm-hmm. It is extremely detailed, though, as far as colorful. Like, you look at it, and I think you could spend quite a while looking just at the lighthouse pixels. It seems like there's so many colors just in that lighthouse. It's really nice to see. And I've said the dialogue is extremely funny, and that's, I think, the thing that struck me first. Is you see the doctors talking to each other, running around, crashing cars, and just...
So what doctors do.
in this game, they do run through the forest quite a bit. And Dr. Watts and Rosalind just play off each other so well, and they're such an interesting, a couple, their dynamic. How did you come up with the idea for them, and are these characters based on any real people?
Well, I've always usually just said Dr. Rosalind is me past 2 a.m. and Dr. Watts is me past 3 a.m., which is actually relatively true, I think. But yeah, I guess there's usually a bit of folks who you know of and a part of yourself, in writings.
Mm-hmm. How do you come up with the names for all these characters?
I don't know, babynames.com.
Do you really?
No.
That would be horrible. Don't say that.
Yeah, it's I don't know. I don't really have any I just stare at the wall, to be honest.
Sometimes that works. Okay.
It does.
The swear words tickle me in this game. Do you deliberately try to keep it like PG-13 or less, because cucumbers, just the words that are thrown out?
Yeah, I've got a lot of mixed responses toward those.
Really?
Yeah, like I don't know. It's like a vegetarians versus I don't know, but it's all right.
Okay.
Yeah, I guess I just wanted because Eva is just Eva. She is just I don't know. I just kind of wanted her to have a bit of a quirk that didn't seem so stern,
Mm-hmm. Well, I think one of my favorite parts of the game is where they're running through the forest with the children, and that fighting scene cues up for the squirrel. Where I know you said you didn't see Final Fantasy, but it's very Final Fantasy, I feel like, and you get the options to choose the volume of your yell attack and all the rest of that. Just the quirkiness of the game is really neat. Have you had a lot of reactions to that, positive and negative?
Yeah, that was actually yeah. I was really glad I got to add that in. That actually I think made it in after the beta was released, and one day I just looked at, I think it was also past like 3 a.m. That's when the actual good things happen for me for some reason. But yeah, yeah, this I like that part, so I'm glad other folks liked it too. It's I didn't mean to make fun of RPGs or anything because I loved RPGs, but okay, maybe I did make fun of them, but I made fun of them with love, you know.
Yes. Well, I think anyone who's played a lot of those games knows that a lot of things happen that are just ridiculous. I mean, just saying like, "Oh, this cliff wasn't dangerous enough. We had to build a house here." I mean, this sort of thing happens all the time in games where you just kind of look at this and go, "If I think about this logically, this is not a wise idea." You know.
Yeah, that's true.
So let's talk a little bit about the game. Why the name To the Moon? I mean, obvious, but for people that have never played. And can you share with the listeners the idea of the game?
Okay, well, the game is called To the Moon because, gee, I don't even know how to answer that one. But the game is basically about these two doctors who, travel backwards through an old man's memories to essentially fulfill his last wish. And his last wish is to go to the moon. And it's also secretly a game about My Little Ponies.
You're
Which is
secretly
why
a brony, aren't you?
No, well, actually, I appreciate the show. Yeah, I like the show. I wouldn't say I'm like a full-fledged brony, but someone on Freebird Games actually got me into the show a while back because he kept posting everything about it. I think it's relaxing to watch now and then. It's like I feel so at peace when I watch it.
It is friendship and magic.
It is very magical.
Okay.
But dude, I actually had. Oh, sorry.
No, no.
Okay, I actually had a direct pony reference. Actually, well, more than one in the game, but that it was so direct, but nobody caught it.
When is
Like
this?
I haven't.
Tell me.
Okay, so for those who watched the show, who knows about the show, and for those who hates it, I'm sorry, guys. But okay, so there is this pony called Luna, who is like the moon pony,
Oh,
right?
yeah, she's beautiful.
Yeah, she's awesome, right? So I actually in NASA, if you go where the centrifuge is, if you go in that room, go around the room toward the west and upper left, essentially, there is actually beyond the glass wall, you can see a Luna figurine like beneath a moon poster. And nobody saw that because when they went to the centrifuge room, they're like, "Oh, I got my memory link, so I guess I'll be heading off now." But,
I have to examine
yeah.
that more closely. Nice. Okay, now I'm gonna spoiler the heck out of this game, although not the ending, because that's important. Won't do that. But there's a lot of things I'm gonna ask. So if you haven't played the game, I recommend you do. But you're gonna get some information about it that you might not want. So just stop here if you haven't played it or you don't care. Okay. Now, the idea of this game I find really interesting because it's a little Total Recall in some ways. That the idea that you get to, it's kind of a juxtaposition. Like you have to decide if you want to live the life you wish for or if you want to appreciate the reality of the life that you have. Because if you choose your wish, you're going to die like quickly because you can't deal with that, which is an interesting like consequence. I guess that's why they're always dying when they get that wish. Is that so?
Yeah, no, for some reason I'm always fond of, it's like between sad and bittersweet. I think bittersweet is almost always better.
I'm not surprised having played this game. So the idea of regret kind of comes in, subtly as well. And what inspired this game, and how did you decide to write about this? Because these are very, very deep, esoteric thoughts for a fourth video game.
Well, deep or pseudo deep, I don't know anymore. But it's I don't know. There were just a lot of stuff going on, and I guess I was trying to turn a bunch of random meh kind of things into something productive and good. And like one of the things, for example, that set up the entire framework was my grandfather falling ill back then, and that was kind of what made me think one day I'm going to be there, and everybody is. And it's just a human nature to to want to go back and change things because you never get to do that, and people want to do what they can't.
I suppose